Hey guys, this week's video is going to be all about hashtags, how you name and title your videos and live streams, and what you should put in the description. Oh, and that algorithm's changed recently, so you'll get some ideas of how you need to adapt to make sure that the algorithm works for you and not against you. So I'm going to explain to creators how they need to change the way that you input information into that back-end form, and for viewers, I'm going to give you some tips about how you can actually take the power back now and start to influence the algorithm yourself to push those good creators and to not push quite so much those bad creators that think they can trick the system. Did you know that the algorithm has changed? Well, I didn't, and so I looked into it. And if you can see from this quote by airmediatech.com, they say that
as of 2024, the YouTube algorithm is focused on each individual. This means that the system now tailors a list of video suggestions for every user.
So in essence, what that means is that I or you could put in exactly the same search terms into the search engine of YouTube and we would get completely different results. Every single one of us gets a unique delivery, and the algorithm ranks the information and the content that it has in its repository to our behavior online, to our viewing behavior on YouTube, the subscriptions that we hold, and the general content that we are obviously interested in. And because of this refocus onto very much a viewer-centric ideal, all the information that we put in that back end doesn't really have as much influence on what is pushed than we previously thought it did. But there are some fundamental changes to that pesky form that we have to fill in when we upload a video. And if you understand those, you're more likely to work with your algorithm and push that content to the appropriate audience. So first off, I'm going to be talking to creators in this video. So the very first thing that you need to think about is that really YouTube is just one big search engine. And if you do some research into search engine optimization, you'll get a really good idea of how keywords, descriptions, and everything else impacts on where you get ranked and who sees your video. So just before we get started into the nitty-gritty, let's just all be on the same page of exactly what an algorithm is. And here's a definition that I found at techtarget.com.
An algorithm is a procedure used for solving a problem or performing a computation. Algorithms act as an exact list of instructions that conduct specified actions step by step in either hardware or software-based routines. Algorithms are widely used throughout all areas of IT. In mathematics, computer programming, and computer science, an algorithm usually refers to a small procedure that solves a recurrent problem. Algorithms are also used as specifications for performing data processing and play a major role in automated systems.
So in essence, pretty much every program has some sort of algorithm in it, but the YouTube algorithm is very sophisticated. After all, YouTube is owned by Google, and just like you and me, YouTube wants to grow its audience and to improve its customer satisfaction rate. And this seems to be why the algorithm has changed so dramatically. It's now putting the focus on customer satisfaction and not on the number of subscribers and hits you have. And by doing this very sophisticated matching of content to particular audience and user, the goal is to improve that customer satisfaction. And that satisfaction they read in lots of different ways. So now it's ranking you more on the customer satisfaction from historical videos you've done, as well as the sort of content that you're competing with. So now concise and accurate descriptions, titles, thumbnails, all of that stuff actually helps the algorithm. And if you try and cheat it by pretending that you're talking about one issue when in fact you're not, that's going to rank against you, because the confidence rate of the algorithm to know exactly what your content isn't there. So it will promote you less because it's more unsure of exactly what your content is. And this now means that all of the creators that are putting too much work into pretending their content isn't actually what it is, they are, in the long term, going to completely destroy their channel and its reputation with the algorithm. And in order to achieve its goal of customer satisfaction, it needs creators now to be honest, concise, and accurate. So really what you want to do when you put your information at the back end behind the description of the video, any supporting information you're putting in there, you need to think about the algorithm, because the algorithm needs to know what's going on in your video, and you need to make it as accurate as possible, because the algorithm doesn't just take your description and believes that that is in fact what's in your video. It also watches your video, understands the transcript, and then it can work out whether you're trying to con it or not. And if you do that, it may not promote your video, and you may find that over time your channel starts to lose its audience. And one interesting thing I did find out relating to sub count is that it doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't matter how many subs you have, and in fact, if you have a lot of dead subs, it can work against you, because again, think about it, it's all about customer satisfaction. And if you've got loads of subs but only 1% of those subs are actually watching your videos, it considers that you're not satisfying your audience, and it'll rank you less. So we used to be totally focused on how many subs everybody had, and of course to get monetization you do need a small amount of subs, but after that it really doesn't care. Now there are loads and loads of videos out there that you can go and watch to understand the changes in the algorithm better and how you can use those to your advantage when you're putting together the forms in the back and uploading videos or live streams. But for the focus of this video, I'm going to give you 3 or 4 tips that I think if you implement you might find a change, if not straight away but in the long term, to your audience, to your growth, and to the amount of people that watch your videos. And therefore that equates into a good customer satisfaction rate. So I've been watching numerous YouTube videos and reading articles, and the general consensus seems to be that these days, rather than starting with a live or a video, you actually need to start with your description and your title, because that will really help define what it is that you put into your content, and therefore the consistency between the title, description and actual video will be very tight, and the algorithm will love it. The most important part of your description is the first 3 sentences. So ideally, those 3 sentences should include as many of the keywords that describe your video as accurately as possible. Then the algorithm will relate that to everything else that it knows, and if they all correlate, it will have the confidence potentially to rank you and to then promote you. The next thing that you need to be aware of, and this for me blew my mind, but it's actually the creation of your thumbnails. And no, I'm not talking about the clickbait in the thumbnails. It's actually the file name you call your thumbnail before you upload it. And the name of that thumbnail needs to be as near to the name of the title of your video or the keywords in your description as possible. Again, this reinforces to the algorithm that the content that you're providing is exactly what you're describing it as, and it has an easier time working out the keywords it wants to use and who to match it to. Then when it comes to the actual video, you need to make sure that the first 30 seconds uses as many of the keywords that indicate the content later on in the video as possible. Again, the algorithm reads that first intro and uses that to help classify where it wants to put your content. And of course, from an audience perspective, if they read the title, then the first 30 seconds correlates to that title, and then it goes on in the video to continue, then the customer satisfaction is going to be high because that particular viewer isn't going to feel like they've been misled in some way. And now, because the focus of the algorithm has changed, the longer someone stays watching your video, the higher you're going to be ranked, because that is really what the algorithm is all about. And that's customer satisfaction, and one of the metrics for that is how long people watch your videos, and the other one is how much they interact with you too. So quickly, how does this impact on the clickbait thumbnails that we see an awful lot and most of us are pretty annoyed about? Well, because if the thumbnail and the clickbait don't relate to the content, not only will the algorithm pick up on that, but also the customer satisfaction of the user will decline dramatically, because if it's saying something in the thumbnail that it's not delivering in the video, over time that will impact on the creator's popularity and its ranking with the algorithm. So I'm just going to finish this section with just a few other facts that I discovered. And the first thing I'm going to talk about are those pesky hashtags. Well, these days they actually have very little influence on the algorithm, because if you put hashtags in but they don't relate to the content, your description, the actual content of your video, then it doesn't know what to do. And if you put way too many hashtags in there, again, you're just confusing the algorithm. So you need to make them accurate and concise, and 3 hashtags should be all that you need, because you have the ability to put tagging into the online form that you fill in, and that is far more important to the way that it'll categorize your video or live stream and will show it when people putting certain keywords into the search engine at the top. So my advice there is to pick only 3 hashtags, either put them below the title or put them in the description, and make sure that they are truly accurate to what you're talking about. If you limit it to 3, you'll probably come up with the 3 most effective ones, and then we'll get away from all of this hashtag issues that are going on. But really, all you need to know is, although they're irritating and they can be quite offensive to see by some, and creators need to be aware of that, they really don't have that much effect these days on what is pushed to what audience and how popular your video ends up being. And recently I came across the term niching down, and that is very popular apparently on YouTube now because of the algorithm change. What you want to be doing is making your hashtags less broad, really specific, because the broader you make your hashtags, 1, the more competition you have, and 2, the more confused the algorithm might be. So fundamentally, what you need to do is to tighten up the descriptions, the titles, your thumbnails, to make them very, very accurate to a particular niche audience, and then you're more likely to get it ranked higher, you're seen by more people, and the algorithm will understand what it is that you've created and better match it to the right audience. So it will really work then with you. But if you're making everything broad, thinking you're going to catch loads and loads of search terms, well, these days you're not, because the algorithm is far more intelligent than that these days. And in fact, if you have too many hashtags, you're going to confuse your algorithm, and it's not going to recommend you to anybody. So finally, and just to wrap up, creators, all you need to remember is the description, the title, and the video all need to be consistent. And really, these days, trying to trick the algorithm into thinking that you're creating content that you're not, it's not going to work anymore. And you'll start to see the impact of that in the drop-off of your audience and potentially those active subscribers. So now I want to turn to what us as subscribers can do. And because of this algorithm change, the control is far more in our hands and far less in the creator's hands. Because it's all about what we do, how we interact, and how we behave when we're watching a video. And that is what really matters to YouTube and to the algorithm these days. So there are things you can do to encourage and promote a channel that you like, and that will help it with the algorithm. And there are now ways you can show your dislike in a particular video or channel without reporting it officially to YouTube. So here are my tips. If you like a creator and want to support that creator in more than just hitting the like button, which, trust me, does make a difference to the algorithm, then there are some things that you can do. One of the first things to do is either watch the video in its entirety or as much as you can of it and return to it to complete it. You can go back and watch it again, and all this will add to the algorithm's belief that this video is in fact very good. And if you believe it's good, that's the way you can tell the algorithm about it. So the second tip I've got is, if there's a video that you're watching that has some information on screen, and often that can be quite quick before it goes on to continue the video, pause it. This actually has a positive effect on the algorithm, because it tells the algorithm that you're interested enough in the content to stop the video to read it, and that therefore will help with the ranking of the video, but also the channel. And so knowing this, if you have to pop out of the room, for instance, and the video is playing, hit pause. Don't stop and go back later, because that will benefit the creator far more than if you leave after a quick duration and then go back and continue. Although you get more hits, the satisfaction rate that the algorithm thinks about won't be as high. So tip 3 is always, if you can, remember to hit the like button. Now if you don't do it at the time of watching a video, go back and do it later, because it really helps to keep the good videos going up in the ranking and those less good videos declining. And that doesn't just mean within your own community. Whenever you see a good video, promote it, because the only way that the quality of the videos on YouTube improves is by getting this sort of customer feedback. And although there seems to be some debate about whether you should hit the thumbs down button if you don't like something or not, technically by hitting that thumbs down button you are interacting with the channel. So personally, if I don't like a video, I choose not to interact with it at all, and I don't hit the thumbs down, but that's a personal choice. Now my fourth tip is quite important, and that is to comment. If you like a video, you want to support a channel, always leave a comment in the box below after the video, and obviously if it's a live, get in that live and start chatting, because this all adds to the algorithm's knowledge that you like the channel and you're interacting with it. YouTube has in essence made you happy, which fundamentally is its goal. And my final tip here is, if you really like a video and you want to support a creator, share it. Share their video out on other platforms and on your community page if you have one. The algorithm absolutely loves this because it gives it a very strong message that you liked the video so much you're going to the effort to promote it to other platforms and to your own audience. And this, for YouTube, means that not only is their customer base likely to grow because you're promoting it on other platforms, but also it is a great indicator that this video is something that more people might want to watch. So now that you know that you're getting a particular personal feed of information coming to you on the homepage of YouTube when you go there, you can now start to craft it to deliver to you the content that you really do want to see. And if it's now far more impactful, if you do all the things to support a channel, there are also things now you can do to tell the algorithm exactly how you feel about particular types of video. So if you begin to watch a video that you don't like and you believe that it's breaking in some way the terms of service, then by all means report it. But make sure you understand what the terms of service exactly are, because misreporting can work against you. But the less brutal and far more encouraged way of showing your displeasure in a particular creator or video is by using one of these two options. Now they're pretty self-explanatory. If you're not interested in a particular subject, hit the not interested button. And if there's a video that you really don't like, maybe it's used too many hashtags, the title is inappropriate and misleading, or you think that the thumbnail is clickbait, well, just hit the don't recommend button, and that will then be taken into account by the algorithm, and that information will also influence other people's feeds. And just one final thing I want to say that rounds up both creator and audience is that if you don't like a channel, you really don't want to watch it. You don't want to leave comments to try and correct them, I did that recently, or even just watch it silently so that you can understand how bad they really are. Because what you're doing is you are fundamentally and in quite a big way promoting their channel for them. And we all get very upset that these bad channels are so popular. Well, have we ever considered that it might be our hate watching that's doing that? And now with the interaction and the amount of time and clicks and likes and comments and interaction with a creator that you might have, every time you go to a channel that you don't like, even if you're just watching in the background, you are feeding their algorithm and they're going to get promoted into the rankings higher. So it might be something that we might just want to think about. And I think that's where the clip channels come in and the people that review these people for us. And for them, top tip, please don't do it from a live stream. Please download the video and do it offline, because obviously every time you pause, they're getting a big thumbs up. And if you're watching the entire video, they're also getting a big thumbs up. So you are feeding the beast by reviewing it. So there are just some careful things you could do that would prevent that from happening. But of course, every creator, it's entirely up to you. I'm just hoping that with this information, you might be able to do things a little bit differently and see those bad actors go down in the ranking. Well, I think that's all I'm going to say in this video. Hopefully I've given you some information and it will give you food for thought. One, about what you watch, and two, about what you create and how you brand that to your audience. I'm off to try and do some of the chores I was intending to do this week. There won't be a video on Sunday. I now need to get into a project we're doing at home for a few days. But I will be back next week, and if anyone's got any suggestions of what they'd like me to cover, please put it in the comments, because I will take it on board. And as a final thing, I just want to give a shout out to Rockabit, because it was their suggestion for this video that has made me make it. And I do hope it does help everybody have a better understanding of how they can promote their sites and to watch out for those bad actors. But equally so, when you see someone with loads of hashtags, just giggle for yourself, because really, they've just been wasting their time. So that's the end of this video. Please engage with it as much as you can. Please interact with my comment section. That would really help me, and hit the like button. And if you're in the true crime community, I'll see you in chat sometime, somewhere, maybe.